The stars glittered like scattered diamonds across the endless black of space. Among them, a sleek human spacecraft. The Endeavor cut silently through the void. Captain Elias Varn sat in the command seat, his hands resting lightly on the console. His eyes, sharp and attentive, scanned the holographic display in front of him. He had traveled through countless star systems, seen wonders and dangers alike. But the planet now ahead was unlike anything he had encountered. This was Celestria, the jewel of the Litheria system, a planet of shimmering cities built from crystal and metal, bathed in the soft glow of twin suns. Legends said its rulers were among the most intelligent and refined beings in the galaxy. And now, Elias was about to meet the Queen herself. At 26, Queen Solara had already achieved what most Celestrian monarchs could only dream of. Known for her sharp mind and strict adherence to tradition, she was both respected and feared. Her beauty was striking, but it was her presence, the quiet command she carried, the way she could silence a room with a single glance, that made her truly formidable. The Endeavor descended slowly into the upper atmosphere. The crystal spires of the capital city reflected the sunlight, casting patterns of color across the ground. As the ship touched down in the royal docking bay, Elias took a deep breath. Humans were rare visitors here, and diplomatic missions were always delicate. One wrong step could turn curiosity into conflict. Elias stepped out of the ship, his uniform pressed and clean, his posture straight. Around him, the palace officials moved with precise elegance, their robes glinting like the surfaces of the city itself. They whispered among themselves, observing the human closely. Their eyes were wide with cautious interest. Elias noticed it and gave a small, respectful nod. He had learned that in unknown worlds, respect and humility often spoke louder than words. Then, the doors to the palace opened, and he was led into the main hall. It was a vast chamber, its walls made of clear crystal that shimmered with the reflections of the sun. The ceiling arched high above, painted with scenes of Celestria's history, victories, great discoveries, and the ascension of previous monarchs. Every detail was meticulous, every symbol meaningful. Elias felt a mixture of awe and tension. And then he saw her. Queen Solara stood at the far end of the hall, her figure framed by the light from the twin suns. Her silver robes flowed like liquid light, and her hair shimmered with soft hues that no human eyes had names for. She moved with the grace of someone who had never stumbled, never faltered, never shown weakness. Her gaze settled on Elias, sharp and measuring, as if trying to see past the human exterior into the man himself. Elias bowed slightly, following the custom he had learned from his advisors. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice calm but respectful. "I am Captain Elias Varn, representing the United Earth Alliance. It is an honor to be here." Solara's lips curved slightly, but it was not a smile, it was the hint of a test. "Captain Varn," she replied, her voice clear and commanding, echoing lightly across the hall. "The United Earth Alliance. You humans travel far for reasons that often escape our understanding. Tell me, what is it that you seek on Celestria?" Elias straightened. "Peaceful dialogue, cooperation between our worlds, and the sharing of knowledge. Humans have much to learn, but we have also learned much. I hope we can share some of that with your people." The Queen's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. "Words are easy, Captain," she said. "Actions are harder. And yet, I will listen. But you must understand something. Celestria has rules, protocols, tradition. They are not suggestions. They are law. A misstep, even an unintentional one, carries consequences." Elias nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will do my best to respect your customs." They began the ceremonial walk through the hall. Court officials flanked them, their eyes following every motion. Elias felt the weight of their scrutiny. Humans were bold, yes, but boldness sometimes clashed with alien tradition. He reminded himself to stay cautious. And then it happened. As the party approached a particularly ornate display of Celestrian artifacts, Elias, curious and unaware, leaned slightly forward to examine a glowing crystal more closely. The protocol demanded that one never touch or even lean too close to such objects without invitation. A courtier gasped softly, and Elias felt the tension in the room spike. Queen Solara's gaze sharpened instantly. "Captain Varn," she said, her tone calm but ice-cold. "Are you unaware of the rules of this hall?" Elias froze. "Your Majesty, I did not intend." "Intentions do not erase disrespect," Solara interrupted, her silver eyes piercing. "You have offended the traditions of my people, and you have done so without consideration." Elias felt the room shrink around him. The air was thick with expectation, and whispers from the courtiers filled the silence between her words. He wanted to apologize, to explain that he did not mean any harm, but something inside him stopped him. Humans were taught to own their actions, yes, but they were also taught not to kneel too easily under unjust judgment. And this, he felt, was a misunderstanding, not malice. Instead, he said nothing. He turned quietly on his heel and left the hall without a word. Court officials gasped. A human, in their palace, defying protocol, not with violence, but with silence. That, they did not know how to measure. Outside, in the cooling sunlight of the palace courtyard, Elias exhaled slowly. His mind was a storm of thoughts. He respected Queen Solara, exhaled with Queen Solara, admired her intellect and her authority, but he could not apologize for a misstep that was accidental. Humans valued honesty, and silence was sometimes louder than words. He walked to his ship in solitude, feeling the eyes of Celestria upon him, even as he moved. He knew he had offended, yes, but he also knew that leaving without words was a statement that humans were independent, that they would not bow simply to impress or appease. Once aboard the Endeavor, Elias sat in the command seat, letting the soft hum of the engines calm his nerves. His mind, however, refused to settle. Queen Solara, the offense, the whispers of court, all of it mingled together in a way that intrigued him. This was no ordinary encounter. This was a test, he realized, not of skill or strength, but of character. As the engines roared to life and the ship lifted from the crystalline landing bay, Elias set a course for the outer systems. His mission, he reminded himself, was not complete. Celestria was beautiful, complex, and dangerous in its elegance. And somewhere beneath all that ice and protocol, he sensed there was a mind he wanted to understand, a world he wanted to connect with, and a challenge he wanted to meet. Yet, as the stars stretched out before him, he could not ignore the weight of the unspoken between him and the Queen. One encounter, one silent act, had begun a chain of events that neither human nor Celestrian could yet predict. Elias knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The Endeavor drifted silently through the cold void of space, the twin suns of Celestria shrinking behind it. Captain Elias Varn leaned back in his command seat, letting the quiet hum of the ship fill the cabin. His encounter with Queen Solara replayed in his mind again and again. He had left the palace without a word, and though his decision had been deliberate, it left an unexpected weight on his chest. He had not anticipated the impact of silence. In human society, a refusal to speak could signal courage. But in Celestria, it was considered audacious, even reckless. He understood this now. Yet, even in his thoughts, Elias recognized a strange curiosity forming within him. Queen Solara had a mind unlike any human he had met, Her intelligence and presence were commanding, even awe-inspiring, and he had made an impression, whether good or bad, he could not yet tell. Elias adjusted the controls and set a course toward the neutral trade hub of Veyron 5, a distant planet known for its bustling spaceports and skilled engineers. There, he could resupply and gather information before continuing deeper into the Letherian sectors. As he worked, he reviewed the ship's sensors. A sudden alert flashed on the console. "Unknown fleet detected," Elias murmured, narrowing his eyes. He activated the long-range scanner and saw a small, heavily armed squadron moving fast toward his location. These were mercenaries, skilled and ruthless. They had likely detected a human in Celestrian space and considered him an easy target. Elias's heart did not race. Humans thrived on challenges. He adjusted the ship's shields, rerouted power to the engines, and initiated evasive maneuvers. The Endeavor darted through the asteroid fields like a silver streak, twisting and spinning to avoid laser fire. The mercenaries pursued relentlessly, their ships far faster and more heavily armed than a human vessel normally could handle. Elias studied the attack patterns. Alien technology often relied on precision and brute force. But humans had a different approach. Adaptability. He calculated the angles of the incoming fire and used small, sudden changes in direction, combined with the ship's hidden thrusters, to confuse the pursuers. Slowly, he began to shake off the closest attackers, their shots passing harmlessly behind him. Hours passed like this, a deadly dance of speed and skill. And yet, Elias did not panic. Humans had a gift for thinking under pressure, for turning disadvantage into opportunity. At last, he reached a dense nebula, its swirling gases thick enough to interfere with the targeting systems of the mercenary fleet. He plunged the Endeavor into the colorful clouds, watching as the pursuing ships faltered, their lasers scattering uselessly in the fog. Breathing steadily, Elias allowed himself a small smile. Another human triumph, not of brute force, but of intelligence, courage, and observation. The galaxy had underestimated humans too many times, and he intended to continue proving them wrong. By the time he reached Veyron 5, the sun of that system had risen, casting long, golden rays across the planet's industrial cities. The spaceport was a riot of color and noise. Ships of every design, humans and aliens alike, hurried about their work. Elias docked the Endeavor, drawing curious looks from the traders and engineers. Humans were rare in these parts, and a human captain alone was almost unheard of. Elias stepped out of the ship and took a deep breath. The air here was artificial but breathable, regulated for multiple species. As he moved through the crowd, he observed everything. The way alien merchants bartered with precise gestures, the engineers repairing engines with elegant tools, the subtle signs of nervous tension in some of the travelers. Every detail told a story, and humans had a talent for reading those stories quickly. Over the next several days, Elias gathered supplies, repaired minor damage to his ship, and learned more about the surrounding systems. He also made contact with other humans who had settled in neutral space. They told tales of human ingenuity, daring raids, and acts of bravery that had become almost legendary across the trade routes. Each story reminded him that humans were remarkable not because of strength alone, but because of courage, creativity, and a stubborn will to survive. Yet, even as he prepared to leave, the memory of Queen Solara never left him. He had expected anger from the Queen, but there was more than that. Curiosity, challenge, and perhaps, Elias thought quietly, respect hidden behind the mask of protocol. He could not yet tell if she admired his independence or saw it as a flaw. But that thought lingered, driving a quiet determination within him. Suddenly his sensors blinked again. A new fleet, different from the mercenaries, approached fast. This one was more organized, larger, and clearly hostile. Elias realized they were a pirate coalition, drawn by the news of human movement in Letherian space. These ships were dangerous, but humans had a way of facing overwhelming odds with clever strategies. He activated the ship's cloaking module, something he had installed after countless encounters with pirates and alien patrols. Using the nebula once more for cover, he maneuvered the ship in ways that the aliens could not anticipate. Small explosions shook the surrounding space as his decoys tricked the enemy into targeting phantom ships. Step by step, he created a path of escape that no alien fleet could predict. Hours later, Elias emerged from the nebula, the enemy fleet far behind him. He allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. This journey was teaching him much about the galaxy beyond Earth. Humans were considered fragile by many alien civilizations, yet the qualities that made them weak in appearance, flexibility, creativity, empathy, and stubbornness made them uniquely powerful. Meanwhile, on Celestria, word of the human captain's daring feats had reached Queen Solara. She listened carefully as her advisors described his encounters with mercenaries and pirates. "He survives where others fail," one official said. "He uses his mind more than his weapons. It is remarkable." Solara's eyes narrowed. She had underestimated humans. Perhaps she had been too quick to judge Captain Varn's silence in the palace. Her advisors noticed the change in her demeanor. The queen, who rarely questioned herself, now pondered the truth about humanity. Could a species so different from Celestrians possess qualities that even they could not fully comprehend? Elias, oblivious to the attention he had drawn back on Celestria, continued his journey. He navigated treacherous asteroid fields, negotiated with alien traders, and solved unexpected problems that no protocol or rulebook could have prepared him for. Each challenge reminded him of human strengths, ingenuity, courage, and the ability to adapt quickly to situations that others might see as hopeless. And yet, even in the midst of these adventures, he could not shake the memory of Queen Solara's gaze. There was something about her intelligence, her precision, that challenged him in a way no other being had. He realized that this was more than curiosity, it was a puzzle. One that he wanted to solve. One that might bring humans and Celestrians together, despite the initial offense. As the stars streaked past the viewport of the Endeavor, Elias plotted his next course. There were more systems to explore, more challenges to face, and a queen whose respect he hoped to earn not through apology, but through action. In the vast emptiness of space, he felt both small and infinite. Humans, he reflected, were never content with the easy path. They always sought to understand, to overcome, and to leave a mark on the universe. The journey through the Letherian systems had tested Elias Varn in ways he had never imagined. Every new planet brought unexpected challenges. Extreme weather, treacherous terrain, and the subtle complexities of alien civilizations. Yet, through all these tests, he had learned something that humans seem to carry naturally, a resilience that came from thinking on their feet, acting decisively, and refusing to give up, even when the odds were stacked impossibly high. After days of navigating asteroid fields and avoiding pirate patrols, Elias approached the small planet of Therion, a world known for its volatile storms and valuable mineral resources. The planet was uninhabited by sentient species but claimed by several trading factions as a temporary mining station. Elias planned a short stop to resupply and gather mineral samples, but even this mission proved more challenging than he expected. Therion's surface was a landscape of jagged rock and whirling dust storms. The landing pad he had been directed to was only partially intact, and the air shimmered with heat from volcanic activity deep beneath the planet's crust. The automated scanners of the Endeavor flagged multiple hazards: high wind velocities, unstable terrain, and electrical discharges caused by static storms. Elias did not hesitate. Humans had survived harsh environments on Earth for millennia, and this was no different. He lowered the landing gear with careful precision, adjusting for the shifting winds. With every small calculation, The ship responded smoothly, landing safely despite the natural chaos around it. Stepping outside, Elias felt the harsh heat and dust whipping against his suit. His boots sank slightly into the brittle rock, and the smell of sulfur and minerals filled his senses. He adjusted the portable sensor array and began scanning the area for resources. This was a task many alien species might have abandoned in frustration. But humans thrived on such challenges. Their ability to adapt to the unexpected made them more resourceful than their opponents realized. While Elias worked, he could not help but think of Queen Solara. How would she view this human so determined, so careful, yet so willing to act where others hesitated? He could almost imagine her sharp eyes analyzing every movement, her mind judging his decisions, and yet, perhaps, secretly impressed by his resourcefulness. Humans often excelled precisely where caution and bravery intersected, a lesson many civilizations, including Celestria, would need to learn. Meanwhile, back on Celestria, Queen Solara had begun to act on her curiosity about humans. After hearing reports of Elias's survival against mercenaries and pirates, she decided to understand this species more deeply. She sent a team of emissaries to follow him discreetly. These observers were among Celestria's most skilled analysts, trained to watch without being seen, to record without interfering, and to report without bias. Elias, of course, was unaware. He continued his work on Therion, gathering mineral samples and repairing minor damage to his ship from the journey. He had learned that patience, observation, and small adjustments could overcome almost any obstacle. Each action he took was deliberate, calculated, yet adaptable. This combination of planning and improvisation was uniquely human. As night fell on Therion, a sudden electrical storm erupted. Lightning struck unpredictably, sending arcs of energy across the rocky plains. The wind howled, and the ground shook. Elias moved quickly, shielding sensitive equipment while keeping himself steady. Many would have panicked or waited out the storm, but humans often acted when necessary, thinking creatively to find solutions. Using portable shields and a quick reroute of energy to stabilize the equipment, Elias survived the storm unharmed. From above, the Celestrian emissaries watched silently. Their reports to Queen Solara were meticulous. "His approach is unconventional," one of the analysts noted. "He uses his intellect to adapt in real time. His species is resourceful beyond our previous assumptions." Solara listened intently. A faint flicker of admiration crossed her face. She had thought humans unpredictable and perhaps weak. Yet this one human had displayed patience, courage, and intelligence in situations that would have defeated many others. She realized that Elias's silence in the palace was not disrespect, but perhaps a reflection of this same inner strength. The ability to act with integrity rather than bowing to expectation. Back on Therion, Elias finished his work and prepared to leave. The storm had passed, leaving a calm, eerie silence across the jagged terrain. He set course for the next destination, Valera, a neutral hub where he hoped to trade some mineral samples for supplies and information. Yet, as he left the planet, sensors detected an unusual phenomenon, a small fleet of alien vessels, moving not with aggression but with calculation, monitoring his path. Elias immediately assessed the situation. Humans were trained to remain calm in uncertainty, to seek patterns, and to respond efficiently. He calculated potential escape routes, while also considering that these ships might be tracking him for reasons other than attack. Perhaps they were curious, or perhaps they represented a political challenge. Either way, he would handle it, as he always had, with observation first, action second. The fleet did not engage immediately, giving Elias time to maneuver. He sent out a signal of peaceful intent, knowing that humans often succeeded where diplomacy and caution intersected. After tense hours, the alien ships altered their trajectory, following at a distance but allowing him to continue toward Valera. Elias realized that his actions, patience, calculation, courage had earned respect even without a single word being exchanged. Meanwhile, Queen Solara reflected on her own assumptions. Humans were not like Celestrians; they did not rely solely on logic or rigid rules. Instead, they combined creativity, instinct, and courage in ways that often produced unexpected results. She began to see that Elias's initial silence had been a sign of strength, not weakness. A new understanding formed in her mind. Humans, for all their unpredictability, had qualities worth admiration. Arriving at Valera, Elias was greeted by the bustling activity of traders, engineers, and explorers from countless star systems. He traded his mineral samples, repaired his ship, and exchanged stories of survival and ingenuity. Other humans shared advice and tales of exploration, reinforcing the sense that humans thrived through problem-solving and courage. Even here, the Celestrian emissaries remained hidden, watching. Each action Elias took, each solution he devised, was recorded and sent back to the Queen. She noted the elegance of his strategies, the balance between careful calculation and bold improvisation. In Celestrian terms, his behavior was chaotic. In human terms, it was genius. Elias's journey was not without challenge. A sudden technical malfunction in the Endeavor's power core forced him to improvise a repair using unconventional methods. He scavenged components from the Valera docks, rewired circuits in ways no automated system would recommend, and succeeded where standard procedures would have failed. Humans thrived in improvisation. They saw opportunities in constraints, solutions in impossibility. Through it all, Elias thought often of Celestria and its queen. He realized that while humans were strong in adaptability, there was also a challenge in bridging the gap between different species' ways of thinking. Celestrians valued precision and adherence. Humans valued flexibility and creativity. Yet, perhaps, these differences could complement each other. Perhaps he and the Queen could find a way to build understanding despite the initial offense. By the time Elias departed Valera, the galaxy felt less intimidating, yet infinitely more complex. He carried not only supplies and information, but also a growing sense of purpose. Humans, he reflected, were capable of great things not just through strength or weapons but through courage, intelligence, and determination. This journey, he knew, was teaching him lessons that extended beyond survival. Queen Solara, from her crystal palace, reviewed the final reports from her emissaries. Her expression was unreadable, yet inside, she felt a shift. The human she had judged so harshly had proven that actions could speak louder than words. She began to wonder, could humans, despite their unpredictability, become allies or even equals in the vast galaxy? And what would happen when their paths crossed again? As the Endeavor disappeared into the stars, both human and Celestrian considered the other in a new light. Elias saw potential allies, challenges, and mysteries yet to be solved. Solara saw a species that defied expectation, capable of brilliance and resilience. And in that unspoken understanding, the stage was set for future revelations, confrontations, and perhaps mutual respect. The galaxy had grown tense. Across countless star systems, rumors spread of a new force, a coalition of mercenaries, rogue factions, and ambitious warlords moving swiftly to dominate weaker planets. Their numbers were vast, their technology formidable, and their ambition unstoppable. Among the many targeted worlds was Celestria, the jewel of the Lytheria system. Its crystal cities, shimmering in twin suns, now faced the shadow of potential invasion. Captain Elias Varn, aboard the Endeavor, had sensed this looming threat days earlier. Humans were often underestimated by alien civilizations, yet they excelled in situations where logic alone could not prevail. Elias had a talent for seeing patterns others missed, predicting moves before they happened, and turning disadvantage into opportunity. The galaxy had never encountered a species like this before, not in terms of courage, ingenuity, and moral resolve. As the Endeavor approached Celestria, Elias could see the distant glimmer of the capital city. He had not come back to apologize. He had not come back for recognition. He had returned because the threat he had sensed in the outer systems now reached the Queen's domain. Humanity thrived not on ambition or conquest, but on protecting what mattered and solving problems when others could not. Meanwhile, in her crystal palace, Queen Solara stood atop the central balcony, her eyes fixed on the stars. Reports had reached her of human movements and victories across distant systems. She had studied Captain Varn from afar, analyzing each action, each choice. His silence in the palace, once seen as arrogance, now seemed to reflect confidence and intelligence. Humans, she realized, measured respect differently. They valued integrity and action over protocol alone. Her advisors approached cautiously. "Your Majesty, the human fleet approaches Celestria. His presence is unusual. He is not leading an army. He seems independent." Solara nodded slowly. "He acts as humans always do. Alone, yet decisive. Watch carefully. Let him prove his intentions." The first signs of the invading force appeared as shadows against the stars. Hundreds of ships, sleek and armed, approached the Celestrian orbit. Standard defenses, crystal-based shields, automated defense cannons would slow them. But Celestria's population had never faced such a coordinated strike. Panic rippled subtly through the palace. Elias assessed the situation from orbit. He could see the weaknesses in the fleet's formation. Their aggression was focused on brute force, predictable patterns, and an overconfidence in their numbers. Humans, by contrast, often thrived on adaptability, using unpredictability as a weapon. Without hesitation, Elias transmitted a message to Celestria's command. "This is Captain Elias Varn. I propose a coordinated strategy. Trust my guidance, and we can defend the planet. I do not seek reward, only to stop those who would harm innocent lives." There was silence on the other end. Protocol dictated caution, yet the Queen made a choice. "Very well, Captain. You may act. We will observe." Elias initiated a series of maneuvers that Celestrian officers could not have predicted. Using the planet's natural orbital patterns, he deployed decoy drones that mimicked warships. He directed energy pulses to temporarily disable enemy sensors, while small, fast strike craft attacked critical points in the invading fleet. Each action combined careful calculation with improvisation, a hallmark of human ingenuity. From the palace, Solara watched in awe. This human did not rely on rules or rigid strategy. He assessed each move, adapted instantly, and inspired the defenders around him. His courage and intelligence were undeniable. Humans, she realized, had strengths Celestrians had never fully appreciated. Hours passed. The battle waged across space, brilliant lights reflecting off the crystal cities below. Many would have considered the situation hopeless, yet Elias remained calm. He encouraged Celestrian pilots, coordinated defensive formations, and personally intervened in critical moments, using the Endeavor's unique capabilities. In one dramatic moment, a massive warship of the invaders aimed directly at the palace. Shields would not hold for long. Elias calculated the trajectory, predicting the enemy's firing pattern with uncanny accuracy. Using a high-risk maneuver, he redirected the warship's energy output toward an asteroid field, neutralizing the threat without causing widespread damage. Queen Solara's breath caught. She had witnessed countless strategies and plans in her life, but never one executed with such precision under pressure, combined with moral judgment. Humans, she realized, were not only clever but courageous in the face of danger. And courage, she thought, was a quality she deeply respected. By nightfall, the invading fleet had been driven back. Celestria's defenses, guided by human ingenuity, held strong. The city below glimmered under the twin suns, a testament to resilience, preparation, and daring. Elias, though exhausted, remained composed. Humans did not seek glory. They sought to protect, to solve problems, to act where others could not. Once the battle ended, Solara summoned Elias to the palace. The halls were quieter now, the tension replaced by cautious curiosity. He entered without hesitation. But this time, there was no offense, no accusation, only observation. "Captain Varn," Solara said, her voice calm, yet carrying authority. "You have acted in ways I did not expect. You have defended my planet, guided my people, and done so without demand or request. You have shown strength, intelligence, and courage." Elias inclined his head respectfully. "Your Majesty, humans act as they must. We solve problems when they appear. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is what we do." Solara regarded him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she extended her hand, a gesture of respect, not ceremony. "You have earned it," she said softly. "The way your species acts, it is remarkable. Perhaps we have judged too quickly, assuming weakness where there is strength." Elias hesitated briefly, then shook her hand firmly. There was no pomp, no exaggerated gesture, only mutual acknowledgement. Humans and Celestrians, two vastly different species, had reached understanding through action, not words. Over the following weeks, the two worked together to strengthen Celestria's defenses, blending human improvisation with Celestrian technology. The people learned to appreciate human ingenuity, while Solara herself found new ways to combine logic and creativity. The galaxy watched as humans, once underestimated, became respected allies. Elias never sought titles or recognition. He moved quietly among Celestria's people, offering guidance, solving problems, and showing that humanity's greatest strength lay in courage, morality, and intellect. And when he finally departed, the Queen watched him go, not with offense or judgment, but with respect and admiration. Their unspoken understanding had forged a connection stronger than any treaty, stronger than any law or protocol. Humans, she realized, were more than travelers. They were problem solvers, protectors, and a species capable of greatness. As the Endeavor slipped into the stars once more, Elias looked back at the planet, its crystal cities shimmering like jewels in the twin suns. He knew that humans had left a mark, not through conquest, but through courage, ingenuity, and moral action. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and mysteries, and humans would face them, as they always had, with determination, creativity, and an unshakable will. For Captain Elias Varn, the journey was far from over. But one thing was certain: the respect earned here, through action and integrity, would ripple across the galaxy, shaping the way civilizations saw humanity forever. And somewhere, among the crystal halls of Celestria, Queen Solara understood that the human she once thought simple had become a force of respect, inspiration, and potential beyond measure. The stars stretched endlessly before him, and the Endeavor surged forward. Humanity's journey had only begun, but already it was changing the galaxy. One act of courage, one clever solution, one moral choice at a time.